eternally grounded. Africa redeemed, the fulfillment of the ancient promise. The ancient promise, the mother before the world. Before there were borders, before there were flags, before there were names for race, religion, or nation, there was Africa. Not as a continent, but as a presence. She did not conquer. She did not arrive. She breathed. From her soil came the first footsteps of humanity. From her rivers came the first memory of life. From her skies came the first understanding of time. Africa was not discovered, she was remembered. And everything that came after, every people, every language, every civilization, were children walking away from home, carrying fragments of her wisdom. This is not mythology, this is recorded truth. The mother before empires. Long before the world learned how to build weapons, Africa had already mastered balance. She taught humanity how to grow without destroying, how to lead without dominating, how to govern without separating spirit from land. Here, leadership was not taken, it was earned. Power was not hoarded, it was shared. And wealth was measured not in gold, but in life sustained. Africa was the first classroom of the human family. And like all classrooms, eventually, the students left. The Great Dispersal. Humanity spread outward, north, south, east, and west. New climates shaped new customs. New challenges shaped new minds. But something subtle began to happen. As distance from the mother grew, so did forgetfulness. Balance became ambition. Wisdom became control. Sacred land became property. And slowly, very slowly, humanity stopped asking how to live in harmony and started asking how to rule. This was the first fracture. Not political, not racial, but spiritual. Why Africa had to be silenced. Africa carried something dangerous to empires. Not weapons, not armies, but memory. She remembered that. No land owns people. No human is above nature. No power survives without harmony. As long as Africa remembered, the illusion of domination could never fully stand. So the strategy was simple. Not to destroy Africa, but to misname her. Not to erase her, but to rewrite her. The lie that shaped the world. Africa was labeled backward, primitive, poor, uncivilized. But these labels were never descriptions. They were permissions. Permission to extract, permission to enslave, permission to fracture the human family. And the greatest lie of all was this, that Africa needed saving. No, Africa was never broken. She was restrained. The promise that could not be killed. Every system built on imbalance eventually collapses. Empires rise loudly, but they fall quietly. Yet through centuries of invasion, colonization, and division, Africa did something extraordinary. She endured. Her languages survived in rhythm. Her wisdom survived in proverbs. Her science survived in seeds, herbs, and soil. And most importantly, her promise survived. A promise that said, when the world reaches the edge of its own destruction, the mother will be remembered again. Today, the world trembles. Systems fail. Trust collapses. Humanity searches for answers in technology, weapons, and control. But the solution has never been forward. It has always been home. And now, Africa is no longer whispering. She is standing. The engineered fall, how Africa was restrained, not defeated. No civilization simply collapses by accident. No continent forgets itself overnight. What happened to Africa was not decline. It was design. The difference between fall and restraint. A fall implies weakness. Restraint implies threat. Africa did not fall because she lacked intelligence, culture, or order. She was restrained because she possessed too much of all three. Empires do not fear poverty. They fear self-sufficiency. They fear people who know how to grow their own food, how to heal their own bodies, how to govern without external authority. Africa knew these things, and knowledge, once weaponized against power, becomes dangerous. The first strategy: disconnection. The most effective way to conquer a people is not to fight them, but to disconnect them. Disconnect them from their land, their history, their confidence, each other. Africa was not conquered by force alone. She was conquered by fragmentation. Borders were drawn not to organize, but to divide memory. Families were separated into tribes turned rivals. Languages were discouraged, then ridiculed. Ancestral systems were renamed primitive. And slowly, the children of Africa were taught to see themselves through someone else's mirror. The colonial illusion. Colonialism did not bring civilization. It brought replacement systems. African governance was replaced with imposed authority. African education was replaced with selective memory. African spirituality was replaced with fear and obedience. And the greatest trick was this: to convince Africa that everything of value came from outside her. Once that belief took root, extraction no longer required chains. It required permission. The economic spell. Africa's wealth was never hidden. It was labeled raw, undeveloped, unrefined. Gold left as resource. Oil left as export. Labor left as migration. But value was always added elsewhere. This is how restraint works. You keep the buy at circulation. Africa was not allowed to process her own abundance. Not because she couldn't, but because if she did, the illusion would collapse. The psychological war. The most damaging invasion was not physical. It was psychological. A narrative was planted that Africa was always behind, that Africa was waiting to be helped, that leadership must come from elsewhere. And when generations hear a lie long enough, it begins to feel like truth. This is how restraint becomes internal, not enforced by soldiers, but by belief. Why Africa never disappeared. Despite everything, Africa did not vanish. Because restraint can limit movement, but it cannot erase essence. Her wisdom survived in village councils, communal land care, oral tradition, rhythm and song, herbal medicine, spiritual law. Even enslaved, Africa taught the world how to survive. Even colonized, Africa the future. The world enters its crisis, faces its own reflection. Systems built on endless growth collapse. Empires built on extraction run out of places to take from. Humanity stands divided, disconnected, exhausted. The old model no longer works. And suddenly, the very principles Africa preserved, balance, sustainability, community, are the answers the world seeks. The shift begins. Africa does not need to imitate the world. The world needs to remember Africa, not as ruler, not as savior, but as blueprint. And this is why a new kind of leadership emerges. Not loud, not performative, but grounded, sovereign, unbought. Toward leadership. When the illusion begins to break, figures arise who refuse to follow the old script. They are not perfect. They are not gods. They are signals. And among them, one name echoes across the continent and beyond. Africa was not defeated. The world was ready to see what she has always been. The return of sovereign leadership. History does not change all at once. It shifts when someone refuses to continue the script they were handed. When systems begin to fail, every era has leaders who manage decline and a few who interrupt it. The difference is not personality. It is alignment. When systems built on imbalance begin to collapse, they search desperately for maintenance. But when the people feel the weight of injustice long enough, they begin to recognize authentic authority. Not authority granted by institutions, but authority earned through integrity. The old model of power. The old world trained leaders to speak well but act cautiously. promise reform but preserve structure, negotiate with systems that never intended fairness. This model depended on approval from outside powers, economic dependence, controlled narratives. Leadership became performance, and the people felt it. The moment the script breaks. Then, occasionally, a leader appears who does something simple, yet revolutionary. He says no. No to imposed dependency. No to inherited submission. No to borrowed authority. This refusal, it is sovereignty. Context, not myth. Captain Ibrahim Traoré did not appear in a vacuum. He emerged from a generation that studied history closely, a people exhausted by repetition, a continent increasingly aware of its leverage. His significance is not about perfection. It is about direction. He represents a break from performative governance, foreign-managed priorities, silence disguised as diplomacy. What makes this moment different? This moment is not defined by speeches. It is defined by positioning. A repositioning of national dignity, economic independence, resource sovereignty, regional unity. When a leader aligns with the long-suppressed interests of the people, the response is immediate, not because of propaganda, but because recognition is instinctive. Why the world is watching. The world does not watch Africa because it suddenly cares. It watches because precedent threatens systems, independence spreads ideas, courage exposes illusions. Sovereignty is contagious, and systems built on dependency cannot afford examples. Prophecy without mysticism. Prophecy is not prediction, it is pattern recognition. When conditions repeat, outcomes follow. Africa has reached a point where silence no longer serves survival, compliance no longer offers stability, restraint no longer guarantees peace. Leaders like Traoré are not the cause, they are the response. The people's role. No leader stands alone. Behind every shift is a population that has endured enough, learned enough, remembered enough. This is not hero worship. This is collective readiness. A leader can only move where the people are willing to stand. The danger of misunderstanding the moment. If this moment is framed as politics alone, it will be misunderstood. This is not left versus right, not military versus civilian, not ideology versus ideology. This is alignment versus imitation. Africa is not copying the world anymore. She is remembering herself. Transition toward the blueprint. Sovereign leadership is not the destination. It is the gate, because true restoration does not end with independence. It begins with reconstruction. When leadership aligns with memory, the future stops asking permission. And Africa is no longer waiting to be led. The future does not need to be invented. It needs to be remembered. The Great Misunderstanding. For centuries, Africa has been described as a continent catching up. But this assumes the world was moving in the right direction. It was not. The dominant global system pursued endless growth on a finite planet, profit over life, speed over wisdom, extraction over balance. Africa did not fail to adopt this system. She resisted it, often unconsciously, by remaining closer to natural law. Natural law. The foundation natural law is not ideology. It is observable truth. It teaches that land regenerates when respected, communities thrive when cooperative, leadership stabilizes when accountable, resources multiply when circulated. Africa's traditional systems were not underdeveloped. They were aligned. And alignment always outperforms force, eventually. Land is life, not property. In much of Africa, land was never owned in the modern sense. It was stewarded, shared, protected for future generations. This prevented artificial scarcity, generational homelessness, ecological collapse. Modern systems now scramble to recreate what Africa practiced for millennia under different names: regenerative agriculture, sustainability, circular economies. Africa does not need to import these ideas. She originated them. Community as infrastructure. Where modern societies rely on systems, Africa relied on people. Elders transmitted wisdom. Youth carried labor and innovation. Families absorbed hardship together. This reduced isolation, mental collapse, social fragmentation. The world now faces epidemics of loneliness despite advanced technology. Africa preserved belonging, and belonging is the most stable infrastructure any society can possess. Economy beyond extraction. Africa's future does not lie in exporting raw materials endlessly. It lies in local processing, regional trade, value retention, resource sovereignty. This is not rejection of the world. It is rebalancing. An economy aligned with life does not grow violently, it grows sustainably. Energy, food, and self-sufficiency. Africa holds immense solar potential, fertile land, ancestral agricultural knowledge. The continent does not lack capacity. It lacks permission structures that favor independence. As these structures dissolve, Africa's self-sufficiency becomes unavoidable. Not through isolation, but through strength. Why the world needs this blueprint. Humanity has reached a limit. Climate instability, economic inequality, spiritual exhaustion. The solutions will not come from more extraction, faster consumption, centralized control. They will come from balance, regeneration, shared responsibility. Africa offers this not as theory, but as lived memory. The role of leadership in the blueprint. Sovereign leadership is not about dominance. It is about guardianship. Protecting land from exploitation, people from dispossession, future generations from collapse. Leadership aligned with the blueprint does not chase approval. It builds foundations. Transition toward human reunion. Africa's restoration is not exclusive. It is inclusive. Because the blueprint does not belong to one people alone. It belongs to humanity. Africa is not becoming the future. She is the memory the future has been waiting for. Uniting of the human family beyond borders, beyond bloodlines. Before humanity was divided by borders, we were united by breath. Before identity became a weapon, it was simply belonging. The illusion of separation. Race was not humanity's original language. Fear was taught later. Borders were drawn later. Hierarchies were imposed later. Labels were enforced later. These divisions were not born of nature. They were manufactured. Because divided people are easier to manage than united ones. The forgotten truth. Science now confirms what Africa has always known. All humans trace their origin to the same ancestral roots. One family, many journeys, different skins shaped by sun, different cultures shaped by climate, different languages shaped by survival, but the same human essence. Africa does not represent one race. She represents origin. The psychological healing. Reuniting humanity does not begin with politics. It begins with perception. When people realize no group is inherently superior, no culture is inherently inferior, no people are disposable, the spell breaks. Africa's restoration helps dissolve the deepest lie of all, that humanity is meant to compete endlessly instead of co-create. Why Africa's rise heals the world. When Africa is seen clearly, every displaced identity softens. Those whose ancestors left remember where they came from. Those whose ancestors conquered are released from inherited guilt. Those who were taught to feel inferior stand upright again. This is not reversal, it is resolution. Beyond victim and oppressor. Heaven on earth cannot be built on revenge, nor can it be built on denial. True reunion requires acknowledgement without shame, accountability without hatred, truth without punishment. Africa does not seek to rule the world. She seeks to heal it. The role of memory in healing. Memory is not about blame, it is about clarity. When history is seen clearly, cycles end. Africa's memory offers humanity a chance to grow without repeating collapse. A new definition of power. In the old world, power meant control. In the emerging world, power means cooperation, stewardship, shared survival. This is not weakness, it is maturity. And Africa's worldview supports this evolution naturally. The human family reunited. When Africa stands restored, no one is excluded. Not Europeans, not Asians, not indigenous peoples, not the diaspora. The mother does not choose favorites, she embraces all her children. Transition toward heaven on earth. Reunion is not symbolic, it must be lived. And lived unity requires systems that reflect it. The future does not ask us to become the same. It asks us to remember that we are one. The fulfillment of the ancient promise. Heaven on earth, not a dream, but a design. Heaven on earth was never meant to descend from the sky. It was meant to be built by human hands, guided by human conscience aligned with natural law. The greatest misunderstanding. For centuries, heaven was postponed, placed in the afterlife, promised later, removed from responsibility. But a postponed heaven becomes permission for suffering. Africa never separated the sacred from the practical. Here, spirit lived in. Land, food, water, community, responsibility. Heaven was not elsewhere, it was relational. Design principle 1. Life at the center. Heaven on earth begins when life becomes the central value. Not profit above life, not power above life, not ideology above life, but life above all. This shifts everything. Economics becomes nourishment, leadership becomes protection, technology becomes service, progress becomes sustainability. Africa's traditional systems understood this instinctively. Design principle 2, balance over dominance. Dominance always destabilizes. Balance stabilizes indefinitely. Nature proves this. Forests regulate climate, diversity strengthens ecosystems, excess invites collapse. Africa's wisdom mirrors nature. No king above the land, no wealth above the people, no generation above the next. This is not romanticism, it is physics. Design principle 3, local strength, global cooperation. Heaven on earth does not require isolation, it requires rootedness. Strong local systems, food sovereignty, water protection, community governance, cultural confidence. From this foundation, global cooperation becomes honest, not desperate. Africa's restoration stabilizes the planet because rooted societies do not exploit others. Design principle 4, leadership as guardianship. Leadership in heaven on earth is not celebrity, it is custodianship. Guardians protect land from exploitation, people from dispossession, truth from distortion. Sovereign leaders are not flawless, they are accountable. This is the leadership Africa calls forward now. The role of technology. Technology is not the enemy. Disconnection is. Technology aligned with natural law amplifies regeneration, improves communication, reduces suffering. Technology divorced from wisdom accelerates collapse. Africa's future lies in integration, not rejection. Why this moment matters. Humanity has reached a fork in the road. One path, more extraction, more control, more division. The other, restoration, cooperation, remembrance. Africa's redemption signals that the second path is still open. The responsibility of this generation. No prophecy fulfills itself. People fulfill prophecy. This generation inherits knowledge without wisdom, power without restraint, speed without direction. Africa offers the correction, but the choice remains human. Heaven on earth will not arrive suddenly. It will emerge quietly, where people choose alignment over domination, and Africa stands ready. Heaven on earth is not a miracle waiting to happen. It is a memory waiting to be lived, and Africa remembers. Welcome to Sacred Africa, where new leaders rise, new wisdom returns, and new futures unfold. Like, subscribe, and share. Together, we rebuild the world.